Dennis Hopeless and Kev Walker brought Avengers Arena, AA Murder World, to at a time when we are getting kind of the unity with the Uncanny Avengers by Rick Remender. We're getting a very kind of both bleak and optimistic simultaneous collision with Jonathan Hickman with New Avengers and Avengers. And then we get Avengers Arena. So what is Avengers Arena? Probably the most polarizing negative Avengers title I've ever seen, barring maybe the extreme Heroes Reborn Avengers. Let's get into why. Hey everybody, this is Perch. So in 2012, we were announced that we were going to get Avengers Arena. We got a bunch of promo art that looked very familiar, and it was promising to kind of pick up the threads from Avengers Academy and from some of the Jason Aaron, Wolverine and the X-Men, his school he was doing, brought in characters like Darkhawk, some of the younger generation, and was going to bring them all together with Avengers Arena. And these books had a decent following. Avengers the Initiative and then Avengers Academy both had a decent, people liked it. And Runaways was also another one that the characters are going to be here, and there was a lot of feeling of happiness with that as well. And so, but yet the reaction when the promo art started hitting was super negative. Why? Well, because the art was all done in the style of Battle Royale. Now, what is Battle Royale? Well, it's a film where basically, Japanese movie, based on, it was a novel, then it was a movie, 1999-2000, is a dystopian kind of action thriller, and the idea was that junior high school kids are forced to fight to the death by the totalitarian Japanese government. The students are pitted against each other with only one will survive, and this is designed to kind of, put the unruly youth in line, and it's kind of a, it's meant to be kind of action, dark comedy, snuff film where the students are all given a weapon and then they go out and then they slowly murder each other until you get to, one last one. And so when the art came out and is basically, doing nothing, same logo style, same everything, people were, didn't like the idea that it was ripping off something so blatantly. And then in the promo material, Dennis Hopeless is like, yeah, we're ripping that off. It's like, we are doing that. So then that begged immediately some other questions. Well, there's a lot of fan favorites here. Are we going to take a bunch of students and kill them? Hopefully not, because, we've just spent the last 6 years or so, especially with Avengers Academy, kind of building a lot of real love. And there's some nostalgic feeling for characters like Darkhawk, the Runaways, where people are like, I don't want these characters to die. So, but that's what it was. So we open up the comic, and I should say at this point, I'm going to do a solid review, but just, for what it's worth, putting it on the table, I hated this premise. Absolutely hated it. I hated it when before it came out. I didn't like this kind of shock snuff thing that they were going for in the marketing. And then the comic came out and it just felt beyond wasteful. And what I view it as is, you have these characters that are built up over time, and they are, the writers, Christos Gage did a wonderful job in Avengers Academy, doing characters like Hazmat and Metal and just Reptile, and just a lot of really good work. The Runaways comic originally did some really good character work. So the idea that we're just going to bring them all together and kill them all off, surely not. But anyway, here you go. So the comic enters, Hazmat's in bad shape, her suit's all torn up, she's leaking kind of toxic stuff, and she's, it got some inner dialogue. She's running, and she's right back to "They sealed me with, radioactive," and which undid the finale to Avengers Academy, where she learned to get a little bit more peace with herself. Her boyfriend Metal, she just, she'd come to at least more of a sense of self, and this dialogue was really erased a lot of that. But suddenly X-23 comes leaping out of the shadows. She roasts X-23. But of course, she gets right back up and starts stabbing, and they're fighting to the death. And here we go, Avengers Arena Murder World. So, flashback to the Avengers Academy campus, and we've got the kids are doing various things. They're hanging out. We even get Hazmat and Metal are sharing a Tinder moment in bed, and suddenly they're flash of light, and all these characters are hanging suspended in animation around kind of reddish, glowish, ominous thing. We've got Apex, Anarchism, Cammy from the Drax series, Nara, Reptile, Nico from Runaways, Darkhawk, Kid Britain, Red Raven, Hazmat, Metal, X-23, Justin, Riker, Chase, Bloodstone. And so they basically, we see a nice kind of island, and it's Arcade, and he is, Arcade's always been a doofus of a villain, but he seems powered up. He tells everybody to wake up. He emerges from lava, and it's a more dangerous, welcome to Murder World. And here's the deal: he likes to watch people die, so he's built some superhero death traps. He's going to do different. There's 16 kid superheroes, some new, as I just read, some well loved. And in 30 days, only one will walk out alive. If you want food, medicine, you're going to have to fight for it. He's like, I even got an idea from a couple kids' books I read in the pen, Teenage Superhero Death Batch, Kill or Be Killed would be great. The fact that it's so blatantly just, revealing its origins is frustrating. Again, we'll keep going with the comic. So he unsnaps them. The heroes fall to the ground. They're ready to, I'm going to take his head off. They all start to attack, and Arcade basically just wipes the floor with them. Immediately kind of blasts the characters away with powers we haven't seen him have before, and he's making a throne out of the ground. So he's clearly powered up. This indicates that there's some shenanigans going on. There are. Arcade has gotten some powered up, but it's not as bad. Hazmat is meanwhile blown into some snow. Metal goes off to save her. He goes, let's kill somebody. Let's start right now. 16 players, one of you is the weakest. I'll do this first killing. Pick the weak link. And he's giving them a countdown. We've got to do it. Characters are kind of going back and forth of, we're not going to do your fighting for you. And Hazmat takes a swing at Arcade, but immediately fails. And seeing that she's in jeopardy, Metal steps up and says, I'm the weakest link. I will, basically sacrifice myself because she can't die. And he's just blown up. So Arcade blasts him into bloody bits all over the place. And that's the comic. So what do we have to say about this? Well, it's definitely built to be sensational. That's the whole point. It's frustrating because Christos Gage did a really wonderful job, I think, building up Metal and a lot of these Avenger Academy characters, and then they are just summarily and instantly discarded. So to have the character just disposed of immediately, it feels cheap. It feels like cheap sensationalism, and that's what it was. They advertise this stuff. This is the book where, and they did a lot of interviews like, "Oh, everybody's going to hate me. All the fans are going to hate me." If you're giving interviews saying that, then you're on the wrong track. You shouldn't be saying, even tongue in cheek, "Hey, everybody's going to hate me." Don't do things everybody hates. That's silly. If you know everybody's going to hate it, then you're just kind of generating cheap controversy, and that's how this book came across. Now, to Dennis Hopeless' credit, he did attempt through this to really kind of reveal some inner things. He brought some new characters to the mix from the Britain Academy, and there's some interesting characters that he brought out. But unfortunately, given that he brought them out during this, within this very derivative ripoff of a story, they didn't stick outside of kind of his own work with the follow-up to this book, which we'll get to as well. None of them really went anywhere, and people haven't picked them up, and they are seen as being a cheap ploy. And so they've never been able to really escape that as characters, which is again, not what you want as a writer. But this comic has definitely angered some people, particularly people who had really grown to love and care about these characters, that then the writer just killed off one by one with pretty little regard. He doesn't get down to just one, but they kill off a lot of characters through the course of this book. And it ends somewhat with a whimper. And unfortunately, I think what Marvel was hoping was that there'd be some outrage with the book. There'd be some people who really didn't like it, but then they'd kind of come around and it's kind of that we'll dip them down, we'll take them back up again approach. But unfortunately, too many people dove off right at the beginning, and because it felt so much like a cheap Battle Royale knockoff, and they advertised it as such, it never really got the credit. The people just never gave it the benefit of the doubt. It kind of stumbled out of the gate and never quite recovered. And so the book, even the follow up to this, where they break bad and someone become villains and all the rest, it just and plus, the summary of all this is that they do wind up kind of toppling Arcade, but the footage of them having to battle to the death and the horrible things that they did was leaked out to everyone, and so they're now going to be pariahs. Again, it erased a lot of the goodwill that Gage did with Avengers Academy, and it left the whole book kind of, and it didn't, the idea that, some heroes did some things to fight for their own survival and now everybody's going to hate them. Not really. I mean, unfortunately, we've seen Spider-Man go crazy and murder people. We've seen Captain America on meth, or whatever he was on. And so this isn't anything new. So unfortunately, the title just didn't get to where it needed to go, in my opinion. But maybe you liked this book. So if you did, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of this comic. Maybe you loved it. Maybe you hated it. What are your feelings? The biggest takeaway for me was just that over the last 6 years, prior to leading up to this book, a bunch of work had been done on kind of creating those heroes of tomorrow. And then in less than, in 12 issues or so, it flushed all that down the toilet. And we have to start all over again with new heroes. And unfortunately, it feels cheaper every time to me. But maybe you feel differently. So let me know in the comments below. Hey, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Introduce to a friend. Really enjoying doing these Avengers comic series. And follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch if you are so inclined. But most importantly, thanks for listening.